everybody. It's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. Today we are doing Goosebumps number 10 of the Slappyworld series called Diary of a Dummy. Now, I read this on Hoopla, and when you get done with the book, they usually have what others have rated it, and people gave it almost a perfect score.
They always do that for all the Goosebumps books for Hoopla. They always give them good scores, though. They always give them 3 stars or more out of 5. Always. I never see a Goosebumps book where it's like, even with the worst ones, like Attack of the Jack, or what was that shitty one, Dancing with the Stars or Screaming with the Stars? They gave that one like a 5 out of 5 when it came out. Like, people are so biased when it comes to these Goosebumps books.
It's really disappointing because...
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just tell you right now, it doesn't have a happy ending. And it could be that it could change somehow. And you always have to leave room for that to happen because you just never know.
Let's set up this book, because I feel like this book... This is how I would describe this book. R.L. Stine, R.L. Simp, or Spineless Stine, that was the good name that I came up with. R.L. Spineless Stine, he is sitting outside on his porch. He is sipping iced tea like an old person would, and he is reading a magazine like an old person. And he's enjoying his life. And all of a sudden, he gets a call, and he gets on the phone, and somebody who sounds like a Nimrod says, "Hello, Mr. Stine. So, what have you been thinking about for your next Goosebumps book?" And he's like, "Well, I was thinking about this really good book idea called Jingle All the Scary Way." Oh, no, you're not going to do that, R.L. Stine. That sounds like an idiot idea. You are going to do another Slappy book right now. And he's like, "No, I don't want to do another Slappy book. I'm sick of doing Slappy books. They're stupid. They're all basically the same. None of them are really very good except for the old ones in the old series." "That doesn't matter, Allstein. We got to do another Slappy book now." And he's like, "Okay. Oh, what about the title? I always come up with the title first." "Well, Arlstein, I'm glad you asked. I was already thinking about that idea myself, because I'm pretty creative myself. And you know, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a really popular book series. So how about Diary of a Dummy?" "Ooh! Okay, I'll get you a rough draft in a week, and then my wife is going to have to edit it, and we'll get started on, Diary of a Dummy. That's actually a very good title. It's kind of scary." And then he hangs up the phone, and then he's got nothing else to do but write that crappy piece of shit book. What do you think of that, Safi?
Who knows?
That's what happened for sure. Gotta write another Slappy book. Why? Because we have to. Go ahead, Safi.
Okay, well...
Suck
we
on
have
that.
a brother and a sister.
Oh, really? That's different.
He's 12, and she's in 4th grade, which would mean she's
8,
9. And this one, they don't have a mom because she passed away. The father lost his job, so they actually had to move, and they're living in a new place. It's a fixer-upper house, which means it has lots of faults, like a leaky roof, and they're on a very strict budget. And I don't know what their father did before. I don't know if it said what he did. It's just that he lost his job. But he picks up dumpsters, and it's kind of weird how they treat dumpster trash, because for years, and I haven't done it lately, but I have been reading other YouTubers' dumpster diving channels. And we actually had a friend in Pennsylvania. I haven't looked at his in a while because I just got tired of it. I mean, we've been listening, or I've been listening for years. And I even got 2 of his t-shirts. Marco and I have a t-shirt of his. His name is Taco Stacks. But anyway, the way they treat garbage, it's like regular garbage. But you go dumpster, he's gone through dumpsters, and they've done house clean-outs where they have to throw things in the dumpster. And then there's another girl in Texas. She and her husband are dumpster divers. And then there's another one in Pittsburgh, another girl. And you can actually find good stuff in the dumpster. You just have to follow the rules and be careful because you can get arrested. Because some of them are... but anyway, the way they treat this is just regular garbage, all in bags and food and everything. And usually it doesn't work out that way. Unless you're living in an apartment house like we do, but what they do with the garbage, they don't come and get the garbage. They compact it, put it into cubes, everything. So you don't even separate it into recyclables, or there's plants, and but anyway. So that's what their dad does. So he's like, he has a, I don't know if he's working for somebody or he drives a dumpster truck where he goes to all the dumpsters and he empties them. And so you're getting trash out of the dumpsters, I guess, at different apartments, house clean-outs, wherever there's a dumpster that belongs to the company. And so, well, that's what he does. So anyway, the kids they're not wearing the best clothes.
No.
Their dad cuts their hair.
Yeah, it opens up. It's got this really hilarious and bad opening where they start playing the music. What's the music, Safi?
Well, I don't know what. I can't do it.
Dun, 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 dun,
It's usually the music they play at the end. They never
dun,
played it at the
dun,
beginning.
dun.
I don't
No, they
believe-
play it at the beginning too,
Okay.
to set up the story of them getting fucked up. But it's really funny because as they're playing that music that's like basically like music that means they get fucked up, the main kid is like, I don't wear very good clothes. I don't really look like the other kids. I wear really shitty shoes that aren't like good shoes. And my hair sucks too. And I wear this jersey that's my cousin's actually. And it's got a stain on it that it won't come off. And it's just hilarious because they set up this character as just like the ultimate loser. But then everything is immediately like made to be like irrelevant because then he says the other kids don't care if I don't look like them. And it's like, but wait a second, why did you just say all that then? Like, if that doesn't really matter to the other kids and it never matters to the story really at all, which it really doesn't, then why even mention it?
Well, also, when he talks about wearing used clothes, that's what I sell.
Yeah.
For the most part, used clothes because...
And I wear a used shirt that's actually like one of the best shirts that I have.
And,
it's a gray shirt.
You can get really good used stuff, but sometimes people, they'll go and buy something, they'll wear it once and they don't like it and they never wear it again.
Yeah.
And that has happened to me a number of times. Also, we have found things, new clothes that have tags on them.
Yeah.
Where I don't know what happened.
I found like a pair of these what were they? Katy Perry.
Sandals.
Katy Perry sandals.
Gel sandals.
And they were
have a smell to them.
They were supposed to smell like pickles or something. Or what were they?
Cactus.
Cactus, yeah.
Some kind of plant.
And they were perfect. They looked great and they sold. And
Very quickly too.
She sold them in like a couple of days.
Yeah.
I picked those out.
So, I mean, when they're talking about that, that's another fallacy. I didn't
Yeah.
particularly appreciate it. Because I know thousands of people on Poshmark and eBay and Mercari who sell used clothes. And some of it's new, that's true. They have boutiques where they sell brand new things they bought. They call it retail arbitrage, where they go buy things on sale. They've never been worn, and they'll sell them. But anyway, I just kind of had an issue with that because he could find it is harder sometimes to find men's clothing or kids' clothing, but I've seen tons of clothing for kids.
And another thing is the fact that they treat like getting anything out of the dump as like really bad. Like nobody should do that.
That's not right. People will. I mean, Taco Stacks, as an example, he's found all these. You wouldn't believe what he's found. People put out. I mean, they have lots of stuff in Pennsylvania. I mean, just at a minimum, like a coffee pot or a Keurig or yard tools, like a a chainsaw.
So this kind of feels like
stuff.
R.L. Stine is ignorant to all of that stuff. He's ignorant.
I don't like that.
It just feels like, they do say write what you know. And, I would just say to that, all R.L. Stine has to do is use Google. Google, boomer. Google Spineless Stine. You look up on Google and you find dumpster diving and you find all that kind of stuff. Just use Google. It'll be really simple for you to just do a little bit of research before you write your stupid cliche Slappy book that nobody cares about.
And just one more thing. The girl in Texas, she and her husband, they go to the college dumpsters. There's a college near where they live. At the end of the year, you wouldn't believe the stuff they find. They found gift cards. They found, game consoles. They found, brand new clothes that hardly been worn, shoes, boots, athletic shoes. I mean, really good stuff because college kids, they don't have any room to take everything with them. And they'll think, I don't need that. I don't want it. I don't care about it. And they're just full of stuff that they have gotten. And food that's never been touched, eaten, all packaged up, closed up, brand new. It blows my mind. But anyway, I just wanted to say that to tell people that it's not like that. Not completely. You can't discount what I've seen over and over.
The dad treats it because, I don't know why Safi hasn't gotten into the story yet because...
I just can't help it, but I saw that was one thing that really
Well, the whole book sucks, so, the whole book is fucking retarded.
Neither one of us liked the book.
No.
Because, one bad thing is just it has a bad ending.
Well, I don't care about... I mean, the characters are stupid. Yeah, definitely they deserve a bad ending because they don't do anything right, and they're as stupid as they look. And
what's interesting is when he did the old Goosebumps books,
they were good. They were written well, and
people got away.
They weren't PC like this one,
and they weren't. Not everything was a totally bad ending.
You wouldn't know, Safi. You didn't read them.
But I know some of the stories.
Safi, the ending of the first Night of the Living Dummy is the two twin girls getting taken as slaves by Slappy forever.
Okay, well, I can't.
After they just defeated the main villain of the book. It's a very unhappy ending. So what you're saying is bullshit.
Well, I'm just talking about some of the other stories.
Oh, well, what are those?
They don't all end so badly.
But they always have the stupid twist.
Well, yeah, there's always some kind of weird, and you see it pops up in the end. And
they have to ruin the ending that they were going to do, and then it's like, oh, wow.
It's kind of like in The Fly, when the scientist is a little tiny fly.
Don't spoil that. Don't spoil that.
Why?
I haven't seen that.
Well, you'll enjoy it.
We're doing that series next year.
The Fly?
Yeah, it's on the list.
Okay. All right, well, so anyway, let's get in the story. So the dad does this, and he's really trying very hard.
But he's kind of a fucking retard. His name is Dumpster Dave, and it's like, yeah, he really is Dumpster Dave. Like, he is just, he's the stupidest person. Like, it's like at first, like, he believes that Slappy is alive himself, but even though he's, like, cool like that, he is a really stupid character, and he's one of the worst characters in the book. but they all kind of suck. So, right, Safi?
I just don't. And as usual, as with every single book that's middle school or whatever, that's what they said. The boy is 12 and the girl is 9 or something, and they make stupid decisions, and the decisions cost them. They cost them their freedom. They also almost cost their lives, almost cost them severe injuries, and it's just, I just get sick of it. And I know it's unrealistic to think that maybe, and I really hate to say that 12-year-olds can't make a good decision, can't be better at their decision making, but I mean, every one of these books, there's always, I think in this one, God, there must have been like at least 3, maybe more bad decisions. And you just know it's a bad decision.
But are these the worst protagonists so far? Because I think there's been worse than this. Like, what was that one kid? What was the book with the one kid who was like really whiny? Like he was like, no like the really babyish one. Like
I don't know. I know what you're talking about. They were good kids. They weren't unpleasant. They just made
They're
bad
stupid,
decisions.
though.
They had this unrealistic thing that they had when they find Slappy at the dump. Of course, he's in a suitcase. The suitcase is perfect looking.
They bring him home, and his dad's like, "You shouldn't have done that because taking things home from the dump is bad or wrong."
Well, they needed to clean it before they brought it in the house because it could have bed bugs or whatever. He was right about that. I mean, when I get used clothes, I have to wash them all.
I don't believe it. I think that you like to...
No, Marco, and don't say that, because that's not true. That's what you do. And if you buy hard goods, you clean them all off.
You like to check them for AIDS.
Marco.
Does this shirt have AIDS? Let's find out in a new video.
That's stupid.
Called Shirts with Safi.
So, anyway, he brings them home. Well, the dummy, and then, of course, we have the usual thing. What's in Slappy's pocket? Or what's in the suitcase with Slappy? A little paper that has magic words. It says Slappy the dummy or something. And then what's on there?
And once again, how does he have that card in perfect condition?
And it's not a card, it's paper. It's a piece of paper.
How does he have that in perfect condition? Who knows?
That they can read it.
We're not going to answer that. Continuity error.
And so he reads the words. What happens? Well, automatically, there's no surprise. He comes alive.
And he spews insults and bad, quote-unquote, bad jokes. And
then he does something really bad.
He causes trouble and he spits out cockroaches
all
somehow.
Over the table, all over their food.
I don't know how he did that. That's kind of bizarre. Where were the cockroaches? Like,
I have no idea.
Where were they inside of his stuffed body? Like, it doesn't make sense at all. It's like, who wrote this book? Like a machine? AI? Or something? Like, this is like, what if AI wrote a shitty Slappy book? And R.L. Stine was like, oh yeah, it looks good. I'm gonna go relax and watch, I don't know, old episodes of, I don't know.
Well,
right?
Anyway.
And then the dad believes him. The dad believes that the dummy is alive, which was good.
That was a good thing.
And he immediately takes him away and it's just like in the shitty new series where you can just shove him in a suitcase and then haul him off and take him to the dump, and it's like, okay, he's out of your hands forever.
And they took him to the far reaches of the dump that smells the worst. And he's locked up in his case. Locked meaning there's latches on the case and they just latch it up. They don't have a key. There's no key lock. They're just latches and they tightly latch it, and they put it in that side of the dump, and they cover it with newspapers and clothes.
Yeah, so just like in the shitty new show, Slappy is just, he's not going to cause you any more trouble because you packed him up and took him away. Wow, that's so scary. He's such a scary villain. He's so threatening.
Usually what will happen is he'll show up at home, he's beating him home, or he's in the car with him, or it would be the truck. But no. He's gone. He's like, who cares? Yeah, so I'm thinking, what is going to happen with the story?
Diarrhea.
And they find this diary. Of course, that's the title, Diary of a Dummy.
Yeah, more like Diarrhea of the Dummy.
And it was his diary. And in it are stories.
And you're thinking, why in the hell does Slappy have a fucking diary?
Well, he said because it's something that listens to him and appreciates what he does.
That's fucking retarded, Safi. Why does Slappy the Dummy have a diary?
I have no idea.
Why?
I thought it was stupid, too.
That is so dumb. And the whole pull of this book is him having a diary, and the person who wrote this book can't even explain in a good way why he has a diary at all. And with the diary, too, it's just like a couple of pages of, like, memories. And then after that, he's like, oh, yeah, I want to find gold. I know where gold is, and I want to find it really badly. And you're thinking, what the hell is this? Gold?
And I'm like, really?
This is what they're doing?
And so, anyway...
Who wanted this shit?
The whole diary, besides that's the most important thing. But he tells about all the times he's ruined somebody's birthday party or on-stage performance where he was the dummy and they had been working with them, and but then at the end he talks about finding gold. Well, the kids are so desperate because their father, it starts raining, there's leaks in the house, they have a leaky roof, they don't have the money to fix the roof. And they're so desperate for their dad to get money, they think, oh my God, there's gold somewhere.
I thought it was hilarious because they didn't even think, maybe we could make money off of having a living dummy. Like, maybe we could restrain this dummy, since it's so easily restrained. You can just shove it away in a suitcase and it won't do anything to you. You could take that dummy, go to Netflix Studios, and say, hey, Netflix, I have a dummy that's alive. Why don't you make a movie or a documentary about this? And boom, they'd sell rights to a movie about Slappy. Boom.
Yeah.
They don't even think about doing that. They don't even think about, oh, well, there's a living dummy. That never happens in real life. Let's actually take advantage of that. What's up with that, Safi? Like, why didn't they even think about that?
I don't know. Well, so anyway, what happens now? So they have and so their dad hides it. He doesn't want them to look at it. And so they go to school the next day, and then they come home.
That was part of the idiotic thing, was that the dad kept on telling them, like, he told them, don't look at the diary, don't go back to the dump to look for Slappy. But then, he should know that they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. That's the other characteristic. No means no, but they do it anyway.
Well, you know that they're going to do it because
they think there's gold.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
And it just drives me nuts. And the boy was upset because they saw his dad drive by. It says Dumpster Dave on the truck or something. And he waves to him, and the boy, they're playing soccer. And then they start making fun of him, and
well, they should. He's an idiot.
And he tells them about the dummy, and so they start making fun of him and said, oh, my backpack's alive, my drink's alive, my food's alive.
Yeah, see, like, it's really weird for something like that to be alive. Like, wow, that would actually be a really good thing to take advantage of and to sell that story. Wow. Right?
No, instead of thinking, but see, that takes thought and wisdom and maturity.
Well, wouldn't the dad have that?
I don't know what's... The dad doesn't seem to be a factor in any of this because he doesn't really... I don't know if he looked at the diary. It doesn't sound like he ever looked at it.
No, I don't think so.
And so anyway, the kid's upset and he wants to show them. So he wants to go back to the dump with his sister, and find Slappy and bring him to school and show them. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the worst decision ever. And of course...
And I was worried, too, because I thought they were going to bring Slappy to school, like, because they were that stupid. They wanted to do that. It was mind-blowing.
Yeah, and then they hitched onto their dad's truck. And, of course, he's picking up garbage as he's going to the dump.
And let's also mention, because this was something that I even sent to Safi because it was so funny. Like, they said something like, we underestimated how much trash would be in the trash truck.
How much would be in the dumpster, which is just unbelievable.
It's just so stupid.
Just unbelievable.
He thinks that kids are this stupid, and it's really bad. Like, ugh.
His son needed to give him some, even though he's older now, he's 34 or something. He needed some, what would you call it? Some advice about the storyline.
Yeah.
It just really shows. And so they ride on this and they get garbage on them. They stink.
Yes, like they're like, we're with these 2 bags and they smell like rotten meat. And it's like, oh boy.
I think before when they were at the dump, it was dark, like it was the end of the day, and they were with their dad. They were accompanying him, and they were going to get dinner after or something, and like pizza, like frozen pizza or something. And so, even though they're not really sure, they see where he could be. They find that, remember, there's a pile of clothes and a pile of newspapers. They find that. They find the suitcase and they open it up, and gee whiz, he's not even in there. And neither is any more diaries about gold or anything else. And so then they see their dad. He's getting ready to go, and he's chugging out of there, out of the dump. And they have to... What happens? I can't believe they run after him, and
yeah, they have to.
Well, they don't catch him. They find somewhere to call.
Yeah, because they don't have phones.
Because they can't afford them.
Yeah, so they have to call their dad to come back and pick them up, and he's just so worn out that he doesn't even ground them for a month like he said he was going to.
And they're wet because it starts to rain, and they smell, and he just sees how bad they, in bad shape that they're in.
It's just so cringeworthy.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was thinking about, these pussified sensitivity readers, they cared so much about Slappy calling kids his slaves, and so then they changed it to servants. Well, guess what, guys? Servants has a lot of synonyms, and one of the synonyms for servant is slave.
Yeah.
So there's really no difference at all. They're so worried about that, but then just all the ways in this book that they make like poor people look stupid is like pretty offensive, I guess.
I really didn't like it.
So like, it's so funny that like the sensitivity readers weren't offended by like how like trash they made poor people look. Like they made poor people look like they're some of the stupidest people on the planet.
So they go home, they get cleaned up, and of course there's water coming through the ceiling, and he asks them what the hell they're doing, and so anyway...
well, they tell them, we found something in the diary, and we wanted to find something at the dump. but we can't tell you, but it's a good secret.
It's a good surprise, or it's a good
Yeah,
secret.
it's a good secret. And the dad was just like, God, these fucking kids.
Well, but he didn't get mad at them, and he didn't do anything bad around them or anything. And so he decides, well, I'm going to look at they had found the diary, and the boy decides when the dad's not looking, he's going to go look through the diary and see if there's something that he missed. And they find out about this special house to go to, the Coldman House. I guess that's what it's called. And it kind of sounded like the house we used to live in when all the heat's turned off, and because they said it was colder in the house than it was outside. It sounded familiar. So anyway, his sister has a friend over, and they all decide to take the bus, and they'll go to the Coldman House. And the bus driver says something very ominous at the end, because it's at the end of the route. It doesn't go any farther. It's the end of the line. She says, all the people that I have brought this way, they never come back. They never get the bus back. Nobody. And it's a warning. And they don't heed the warning.
And also you're thinking, why are these little pieces of shit taking along this other person who has no involvement in this at all?
Which was another thing I didn't care for. She's just an innocent victim of their mistakes. And I really didn't appreciate it. I was thinking maybe they'd get away because they had her with them. Somehow, because she's a gymnast and she's real small, that somehow she would help them get away. And she did help them escape a trap. Now, first we have, the house has traps.
Yeah, it's like saying, Saw.
What do you mean by traps?
This is like the ultimate haunted house. Like, remember Shutter Mansion, aka Shitty Mansion, and how like it really didn't have basically anything interesting or scary? Well, this mansion had like everything but the kitchen sink. Like, it was the ultimate haunted house. It was basically the Goosebumps house, like all the stuff from Goosebumps shoved into one house. And it's like, this is not what I expected, because it felt like it was so desperate that like there's nothing else to do. Let's do like a haunted house thing and have all this random stuff happen. And it was so weird. Right, Safi?
All the things that happened. I mean, usually in these Slappy books, it's something to do with Slappy that's happening.
And it's not. It's like all these other random things, like creatures and shit. It's really weird.
In the kitchen, they have this Iceman.
Yeah, he's the Iceman.
He comes out of the ice chest, and he wants, what is it? He wants the boy to take his place or something.
I don't know.
But they all, they're trying to save the boy, and they grab onto him. I mean, he's all ice. And what happens is the warmth of their body melts the Iceman, and he disintegrates and disappears.
Yeah, he grabs them and they hug him to death.
Yeah.
Like, that's the level of writing that we're dealing with here.
And then they're like, oh my God. And like it's just so disjointed from the story.
Yeah.
And then they go, what is it? They go outside.
No, there's an old man who just stumbles on in, and he's like, oh, hey, kids, let me take you back out to the garden there. And then
of course, instead of, I mean, how many YouTube videos I've seen where kids got killed or whatever following some stranger. I mean,
stranger danger.
I mean, what the hell?
These kids don't hear about that because they're too poor. Only rich kids know about stranger danger.
So they go with him, and he says, I want you to see my garden. And what he does is he takes them out there, and all they see is a bare yard. There's no flowers, there's no bushes, there's no plants of any kind. It's just a, regular yard with nothing in it. And then he waves his hands around, these vines start to grow. And they end up being in these vine-walled prison cells. And there's vines everywhere. I mean, shoots and trees and it's not like, have you ever watched The Secret Garden or read The Secret Garden, where she wanted a bit of seeds to plant, and you have all these things come back. There's flowers and beautiful trees and bushes, and there's birds now, and it's not like that at all. It's like, it sounded like there were just cells made out of vines that trapped each kid. And I'm like, my God, aren't they ever going to get home? And what's the purpose of this? I'm thinking, where is the story going? And what does this have to do with Slappy?
And I was thinking, like, remember that great second Goosebumps movie where they had the scary house and they cleaned it out, and then all they did was find Slappy and then a bunch of other junk? Like, that's what this should have been like. Like, that was much more realistic. Remember that?
Yeah.
That second movie promoted, like, getting trash and used stuff and using that.
House clean out.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
So, like, yeah, this was really weird.
And I'm like, what the hell? So the little girl, and it starts to rain, and that makes the vines very, gives them some kind of, what would you call it? A slipping out of their ability. And that's a terrible way to say it. I apologize. And
it gives them a window.
Little girl gets out because she's real tiny, and she helps them get out. First her friend, and then they help the boy get out.
What's even more embarrassing is that this book came out 2 years after the second Goosebumps movie came out. So 2 years after they already did that positive imagery for, like, trash stuff like that. Like, oh, they do this. Like, wow, good job, Earl Stine.
Yeah, and so they get out, and then how are they gonna get out of the whole place? So they start running around the yard, and at the edges of the yard, the place, the property, there's hedges, very tall, very thick hedges, and they can't seem to get through them. They're like walls, and there's 3 of them, so they're walled in, and the only way to get out of there is to go through the house. So they go into the house, and then they start walking through it, just trying to find the front door. And I guess they didn't pay attention when the guy took them out to look at the garden. So anyway, they find the library, which was interesting. And then the floor started to shake, and they can't stand up. It's so bad. It's like they were talking about it being like being on a ship, where the waves are really tall and crashing around, and they can't even stand up. And there's a table, and the boy's standing near it, and there's a drawer in the table. The drawer comes flying out, and what's in the drawer? A diary, another diary. So they're all excited, and because the floor stops shaking, and it's another diary, and they think, oh boy, we're going to find the gold now. And because, they thought they might find another diary, and then the diary would tell them about, quote, the gold. Well, what happens? Another puppet shows up. Guess what its name is?
It's a female puppet. Oh, never seen that before,
and
right?
Guess what its name is?
Goldie.
Goldie. That's the gold he was referring to. And, but in it, we find out are little spells that she had learned, because she was like Slappy's counterpart. They had both been made by the same sorcerer at the same time. And he actually referred to her as his sister. That comes up later.
Yeah, that's more stuff where they retconned continuity of his origin and all that, how that happened. It's like, oh, let's just make up something new. He also had a sister, because it's 2020 and we gotta be progressive and have a female dummy, even though we've already done that before, and it was much better than this shit. Mary Ellen.
Anyway, Joe Freya is the guy who plays Slappy. He introduces the book. He usually, does little breaks. And then at the end, he does an epilogue. Well, he actually had more of a part in this book. He played the role of Slappy whenever Slappy came on the scene. So I'm not sure if he played Goldie too, or that was the person reading the kid's part. What do you think?
I didn't really care. Like, I was kind of checked out. Like, I was like, this is stupid.
Well,
I hate this.
I was wondering why they, and I've said this on other videos, why they didn't just have him play the role of Slappy in the book.
And I hated how the book started off, and, it didn't start off like The Ghost of Slappy, where it started off different from other books. It started off like it was going to be another book that's like exactly like all the other ones. But then they did a turn, and it turned into shit. And then they did more turns that turned into even bigger shits, and the book just couldn't stop being shitty. So, like, the book just kept on getting shittier and shittier. And as soon as I saw a female dummy, I was like, oh, God. Like, because this is just so random, and it's so, like, queer, like, how it's like, oh, see, this is clever, because I didn't write Slappy's diary, I wrote diary of a dummy. That means it could also be another dummy's diary.
Right.
Like, dummies don't have diaries.
Yeah,
They don't.
And it's just...
Even evil dummies, they don't have diaries. There's no purpose for a dummy to have a diary.
So they actually... I don't even know if I want to go into all the mishaps, but there was another mishap with rats.
But Slappy comes and he turns her into a rat, which was stupid too, because how does that happen? How do you turn a dummy into a rat?
Oh, it's from one of the spells in her little diary.
Yeah, still, how is that possible? Like, alchemy, Safi? Like, turning matter into other matter? How do you turn a wooden dummy into a rat?
I don't know.
You don't.
So, God, it's almost giving me a headache.
Don't get a panic attack.
I was really hopeful that they would get away, because I thought what was going to happen was that, because they start arguing, Slappy and the girl and Goldie, and they start arguing a lot, and I thought, well, why can't they just sidle out the door? Because they started being a little violent with each other.
Yeah, it was like a Bride of the Living dummy.
And
except trash.
Hoping that they could sidle out the door and get away.
No. They just stand there and they're like...
Well, they play out the argument, and then she says, why don't we just go out the door? And it's open, because when Slappy came in, he left the door wide open. Well, of course, Goldie notices that, and she slams the door shut. And, I'm just like, I'm so done with this book, because he actually extracted this promise, the boy did, from Slappy, that if he would give him something that he wants, that he would let them go. And he said, well, what is it that I would want from you? And he said he found Goldie's diary. Well, of course he wanted that, because it had a bunch of spells that he could use. Now, if you know about the character of Slappy from a million books, a million movies, and especially, they just had the latest show on TV.
Yeah, where he's an anti-war activist in that one.
And it was all about Slappy.
Yeah, everything's always about Slappy.
And so,
So they give it to him. They give him the diary. Like,
But how?
yeah, let's just give the evil dummy the diary. Like, they could have taken it and torn it into pieces. That's all they had to do.
And he doesn't keep his promise.
No.
He puts a spell on him, and they become his slaves.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
And they get fucked up.
They're gonna go to their house with the dad.
And the dad's gonna be like, "Ah, you stupid kids!"
I don't know about that, but I mean, there's a chance, I guess.
Well, all he has to do, like we saw earlier, is just shove Slappy into a case and then find a way to break the spell somehow. Like, apparently in this book, it's not hard to defeat Slappy at all. It's just like, you can shove him into a case and take him to the dump, because that works, even though it never worked in the good series, the good Goosebumps series. It works in the shitty series of Slappyworld.
So that's the end of the story, and I was very disappointed that it had a bad ending.
I was disappointed with the whole thing. I didn't even care. Like, the ending was just like the icing on the shit cake.
And all those traps and everything, it just didn't fit together with the story. Because I kept writing in my notes.
It was like Saw 2.
Where was this heading?
Remember Saw 2, where they're in the house and everything, and there's all the traps? Like, it was like Saw 2. But bad. Right?
Yeah.
Didn't that remind you of that?
So, I don't know. I would just... I guess I'd give it a D.
I give it an F.
And I only do that because, and I really don't, I mean, I'm being great, I'm being
generous.
I just, because I thought behind it, but it didn't fit with the story. And, and they didn't do the same things with Slappy that they usually do. I thought when they put him in the dump, he'd hop back on the truck, and then he'd end up at the house. They usually do stuff like that, but I thought that's pretty boring. I've only done that like 1,000,000 times. And I don't like it. I didn't like it.
It's another waste of time Slappy book.
Yeah.
Where the same stuff happens.
So that's it. And,
huge disappointment. Definitely, I would say this is like the third worst book we've read of the whole Slappyworld series. Like, it's not as good as that robot one that we read that I said was really bad, but it is the third worst of the whole series. Do you agree?
I suppose so. It's just not good. And I don't have a good feeling because the kids just made so many bad decisions. And I just feel like, I don't know, why can't they ever make a good decision? And it just seems like they don't. And this one, it screwed them up forever. And somebody else who wasn't even a part of their family, the little gymnast girl who was the sister's friend. And that really irritated me, that she got caught up in their stupidity.
And the dad never comes back, too. Like, we never get any resolution with any of that.
No.
It just drops off. Like, this is a short book, too. The audiobook was only 2.5 hours. They're usually like 3.5 hours. So, it was also like a short book. So that's why I'm saying, like, this just felt like it was desperate. Like, he had to write another Slappy book. So he wrote this crap.
Let me tell you that if you want to know about dumpster diving, I don't really particularly like the couple from Texas, that, the ones that go to the college dumpsters at the end of the year. But there's the one girl from Pittsburgh. I have not watched her in a long time, but she goes like to, let's just say, the dollar store dumpster. And she has to be very careful because they call the police. So, I mean, you have to be very careful. You have to follow the rules. And she's gotten stuff. I mean, they throw away food that's not even, and goods that are not even expired. and cards and just all kinds of stuff. She's donated all these things to places, homeless shelters and like, pet shelters, used or new towels. They're just not going to sell them by a certain date, so they just throw them in the dumpster. All this new stuff. And they have yard sales and they sell the stuff. And then Taco Stacks, he does the same. He also gets metal and he does scrapping. And about people who scrap, they collect metal, and different metals like copper, for example, bring a lot of money. And but anyway, you need to, if you're going to write a book about something and mention these things, you need to know a little bit more about them and not assume things that are not true. And so anyway, I just wanted to say that. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers and tell us what you're watching for the holidays. Somebody else in the house is watching Hallmark movies, so they're like having a Hallmark attack.
Wait a second. Tonight's Tuesday night, right?
Yeah, tonight's Fargo night.
Oh.
And I wanted to mention, too, Fargo, the Golden Globe nominations were just announced. Now, I don't watch a lot of TV, just specific things, like, say, Fargo, for example. And, like, Succession, I know a lot of people watch that. That's nominated. But Fargo actually has at least 2 or 3.
Are you mentioning that on a Goosebumps video?
Well, because I wanted people to know if they want to.
That's
we're going to be
relevant.
watching the next episode of that tonight and reviewing it tomorrow. And so the main characters, John Hamm and the woman who plays Dot, they're both nominated for Golden Globes. I just wanted to mention that. So anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And goodbye.
Bye.